Hey gang, we hope you enjoy today's show. Got Captain Sonny Richards, AA Fishing Charters out of Sebastian. We were talking a little bit about that cold water bite and how this particular year, all of the cold water that we see up north, how it's pushed a lot of the fish down. And Sonny's catching a lot of tuna and dolphin right now. Also talked about the inshore bite for when we can't get offshore. Hopefully you guys and gals will enjoy this show. This morning we're going to start the show a couple minutes early. And you guys get a couple of bonus minutes, so that's kind of a cool thing. Well, I'm Captain Jim Ross, and I appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday morning right here to the Catch a Memory Outdoors radio show. For those of you that are on Facebook, we appreciate you being on there as well. And if you want to get involved with the show, give us a call right here in our Cocoa Studios, 321-632-1000. That's 321-632-1000. You can get us right here at our show studio in Cocoa. Captain Sonny Richards is in the house back in here this morning, Sonny, and I tell you what, man, we need to build a campfire because it is cool outside.
We do. I should have brought my pocket warmers with me.
I had 37 on my truck this morning. That's the coldest it's been this year, and it's 39 here at the station.
Yeah. I think the wind chill is pushing it into the high 20s, low 30s right now.
I tell you what, I got a text this morning from Captain Jeff Cranick. And Jeff was telling me that he was at the Broadmoor impoundment walk-in. I guess this is the final day. This is the final day for Broadmoor for the duck season. He said there was 20 no-shows and 97 people trying to walk in this morning.
Wow.
Trying to fill those 20 spots.
Wow.
Yeah. That's hardcore.
That's hardcore.
I'm not that hardcore.
No.
I enjoy duck hunting, but I'm not mad at them that bad,
Yeah.
I'm just not that mad at them that I want to go get out there in this kind of temperature. So hopefully those of you guys and gals that are out there this morning are staying warm, because I tell you what, man, it's chilly out. It is just, but you know what? We've got a whole bunch of good-looking weather this week, and I'm looking forward to that.
I am. I'm excited about it. So, hopefully it's not the typical people wait until it's bad seas to book. So we filled most of our days.
So we have had 2 straight weeks of just cruddy weather. It's just cruddy. That's all you can say about it. I mean, you can only refill your tackle boxes and respool your reels and, all of those sorts of maintenance and preventive maintenance items so much. What do you do to keep your spare time from just being nothing?
Maintenance is the biggest thing. The problem with our boats, we use them so often when they have to sit for a week or two, things could just stop working.
Yeah, that's what
just by sitting.
They do. Bait well pumps, bilge pumps, switches. You're just like, well, what the heck happened here?
I went out yesterday and my port side motor wouldn't even turn over. So thinking it worked when I put it on the lift.
Yeah.
Going to find out it was just a fuse. Just sitting with no electricity running through that starter fuse. And
it just decided, I'm done.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't like the cold either. So, but we've definitely got a bag full of deep drop rigs ready to go, trolling rigs ready to go probably for the next couple of years.
Speaking of deep drop, dropping anything over the side of the boat, there was a proposal by the National Marine Fisheries Council, National Marine Fisheries Service, to completely shut down bottom fishing.
Yep.
Now, I know that there's been some pushback on that. Not necessarily sure when, how, where, and why. But, a 3-month closure for a guy that's an offshore charter captain, that's a big problem for a guy who's trying to make a living on a boat.
It is. It's definitely a critical state for us right now. There's a lot of fish out there we can still target, but you get those return customers that have their species that they want. It's hard enough when January 1st rolls around and grouper season closes down. Everyone has to switch modes and start targeting other things. So a 3-month closure would definitely put a hurt on us.
Yeah, just total. Now, my question is this. Okay, the snapper grouper complex obviously is encompassed in that. Do cobia fall in there? Do amberjack,
So
almacos, do they fall in there?
I have not seen the list of 55 species in full, but from what I've been hearing, it encompasses all of those. It's not necessarily the other fish they want to shut down. It's the fish that are surrounding the habitats of red snapper. Those are the ones that will be included in the 55 fish species.
That's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish. Yep.
55 different species. I mean, I think about it like this in the springtime. If we go out and we're slow trolling around on the reef, looking for some king mackerel. That's your usual target on those 70 to 90 foot reefs. Every once in a while, you'll have an anomaly show up, but most of the time, it's king mackerel, and then all of a sudden, there's a brown fish in the prop wash.
Yeah,
and it's not a shark. Well, there do you get to catch and keep that fish because you were trolling?
So I think,
if that fish is of legal size, you know what I'm saying?
Within regulations, a lot of definition of these rules hasn't really come down to be clearly read, but it's almost identical to fishing in the closed zone on the Ocklina Bank. If there's a grouper on the surface there, and that's a closed experimental area, and you catch it, you cannot keep it. It's a species.
Yeah. It's not the method of fishing; it's the actual species itself.
It is. Whether you catch, if they include cobia on the 55 species, and you catch him on the surface or the bottom, it won't matter.
Yeah.
It would be an illegal fish.
And how many times have you chummed red snapper to the top?
Oh yeah. Always. Yeah.
You have to look at it like this. Like, okay, it's not necessarily the depth of water because if you're chumming, the red snapper will come right to the surface.
The fish go where the food is.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a challenge. If something like this passes, it will definitely be a challenge. There's high hopes right now that this closure is put on a temporary hold until presidential administration can review all of the information.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's grabbed enough attention, Jim, that it's definitely more kickback than I think the feds were expecting.
Well, you have to think. I mean, I'm not an offshore guy. Okay, that's not my primary means of fishing. I mean, I'm primarily a lagoon and near coastal guy. Do I go out to the reef and mess around? Yeah. When the seas are 2 feet or less, basically. I mean, I'm not out there every day.
Right.
But I'm spending 30, 35 days a year outside of the 3 mile limit, if you will, chasing whatever it is that I'm chasing. Whether it's bonita on fly, whether it's king mackerel with a live pogie, whether it's, I go out and target red snapper, and I know that I may get some guys that are like, hey man, you're part of the problem. But I'm not targeting fish typically in more than 70 feet or 90 feet of water. And I have a descending device. However, most of the fish that I catch are up in the water column because I chum them up to the top. We catch them, we pull them in, we take a picture, and we put them back over the side, and they swim away just fine. I mean, fast.
Yeah.
Not float around. Not I got a bubble gut. They're gone.
Yep.
And so, but I do the same thing with king mackerel. I mean, I have a lot of clients that will go to the reef, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to keep anything. We can't cook anything in our hotel room, and we're flying on a plane, and we don't want to try and take something back." So we catch king mackerel. I go to single hook rigs instead of treble hook rigs most of the time, or we'll throw lures. So, it's surprising how many fish we catch on lures every year, just casting lures on the reef. If you've got a knot of fish, if you circle and you find a knot of fish, a good group of fish, you can catch them on lures very easily. And they're a lot of fun to catch on lures, especially if you throw the pogies out there, get them fired up, get them skyrocketing on the pogies, and then throw a chugger or a lip diving plug out there. And when a king mackerel hits a lure that you're reeling, man, it's talk about jerk your arm out of the socket.
Yeah.
They're coming, and they're coming fast. It's not I'm going to come up and lick that thing to see what it tastes like. I'm eating it now, and I'm
at full speed when I try to kill it. And so, and as you know, that strike is a phenomenal strike. And so we'll pull the fish in, I'll put the boga grip on him, unhook him, keep him in the water, unhook him, get the rod out of the way, tell the customer, okay, hold the boga, pick him up by the belly, support him. If it's a big enough fish, I'll get 2 guys holding the fish, because sometimes you get those fish that are 30 to 40, and sometimes even a little bigger pounds. 2 guys holding that fish is a whole lot better than 1. 2 guys hold it, snap the picture, get him back in the water. I'm on the trolling motor most of the time, so it's just a matter of keeping the water flowing across his gills. He's not out of the water more than 20 seconds at the most, maybe 30. Put him back in the water, revive him just a little bit, take the boga out of his mouth, and off he goes, or she goes, as the case may be. And so I don't feel like my fishing practices are doing as much harm as pulling a bottom fish from 150, 180, 200 feet up through the water column. The fish gets barotrauma for no matter how short a period of time that he's out of his depth zone that he was in, he's experiencing barotrauma. So when you put him back down at 180 feet on the sequelizer, that fish is he's not quite as good as he could have been, in my opinion, if you catch him in 70 feet or less.
Yeah. Even when you descend those fish in that depth, they're an easy target. They're a food source at that point that can't really evade. So whether it's barracuda, kingfish, sharks, and I think that's where the federal regulations, they push real hard for the descending device. And what they're seeing is that's not having an effect on discards, basically. Not necessarily fish floating on a surface, but also fish being taken on the bottom when released. Yeah. And, that's something that the feds are having a hard time wrestling with, is how do we control these fish being released alive but don't make it? Whether it's, and I don't think this happens often, we do see it, but people who are uneducated or barotrauma release the fish at the surface. But
well, let me get your thoughts on this. I've posed this question a number of times over the years. In fact, we talked about it a little bit in last week's show. Would you, as we'll call you an offshore charter fishing captain, okay? Would you, as an offshore charter fishing captain, be opposed to keeping a red snapper for each of your clients, but not being able to keep any other bottom species if you decide to keep a red snapper? Would that pose a problem for you? So no lanes, no mangroves, no muttons,
no
groupers, no sea bass.
That wouldn't cause a problem in most cases. You get families on the boat, they have no idea what a red snapper is, or they've heard of them, or vice versa. So they see a red snapper versus lane snapper, and that's quite a difference of a fish.
Oh, yeah.
But it still leaves the option to go target something else that's not on the bottom.
So my proposal, and I can't be the only person out there that's ever thought of this, because, I am not the brightest crayon in the box. Let's just put it that way. I'm not the brown crayon, okay, but I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. But my idea to try to conserve the fishery, take as much pressure off of not just the red snapper, but all species of bottom fish, is that, okay, you want to go bottom fishing, and we go out and we try to catch mangrove snapper, lane snapper, gag grouper, red grouper, sea bass, triggerfish. Okay, let's just stop at 5 or 6. Let's just stop at that. Okay, how many red snapper are we going to catch in pursuit of those other species? Probably going to be 1 or 2.
Yeah,
maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, you're definitely going to.
Most likely, it's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases. there's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio. You're going to catch 2 red snapper for every legal fish that you can catch. So going back to the dead discards, if we have dead discards, and dead discards are what is keeping the fishery closed, we're catching 10 drops, we catch 6 red snapper, 50% of them die, and so we've killed 3 red snapper. The other 4 fish are mangroves or lanes or muttons or whatever they are, okay? So we've killed 3 red snapper, we've caught 6 red snapper, and we have 4 other species in the box. Wouldn't it be easier just to put the 3 red snapper in the box than the 4 other species? Because the red snapper are bigger, most likely, going to yield more fillet off of them, most likely. We didn't kill, in anything else in the process. We didn't harm anything else in the process. So my whole thought is, let's turn this into a win for everyone that fishes, and a win for the fish species in the grouper, snapper, reef fish complex. You and I go out fishing. No, you have a 4-man charter, okay? You pull up on your spot, 4 Spanish sardines go down, 4 red snapper come up. You guys want to keep them? Yeah, we want to keep them. These are nice fish, 8, 10, 12-pound snapper. Heck yeah, I want to keep this fish. Okay, put them in the box. Break out the ballyhoo. Let's go on the troll. Break out the live baits. Let's go look for the kingfish. Let's go do a different type of fishing, because you guys just dropped 4 baits down. You brought 4 fish up. We got 4 fish in the box. There were no dead discards. No other species in the complex was harmed in the process because it was undersized, out of season, whatever else the case may be for those other species. And we have some fillets to take home, instead of pulling up there and first drop 4 red snapper, 4 red snapper go back in the water, 2 of which are dead. Okay? Serving absolutely no purpose other than feeding the sharks. 4 more drops, 4 more red snapper come up. Now we're at 8. But we've killed 4.
Right.
And we still don't have anything on ice. Nothing in the box. Okay? 4 more baits go down. Oh, here comes a lane, here comes a vermilion, and 2 more red snapper. Well, we can keep the lane and we can keep the vermilion, but we've now killed 5 red snapper out of the 10 red snapper that we've caught, or 12, And so I look at it and I just go, I cannot believe that we're continuing to do what we're continuing to do.
Right.
As what I would consider to be a highly educated group of gentlemen and ladies that are supposed to be managing the fishery. Just shut it down. You have the option. All the other bottom species or red snapper. If you want to chase all those other bottom species, you can't keep a red snapper. But if you want to keep a red snapper, you can't keep any other bottom species. And so to me, it solves all of the problems. It takes of those 55 fish in that complex that you mentioned that are going to be shut down, want to be shut down based on the overharvest of red snapper. You're now targeting 54 other species of fish other than the intended species you're trying to manage.
Right.
That ratio sucks. I mean, even kindergartner can figure that one out. That's a bad ratio. So if we can put 4 fish in the box, our average fish being 8 pounds, everybody gets a meal out of their first drop down, if you will, and then we can go about doing other things the rest of the day. That to me, it's less frustrating for the customer. It's less frustrating for you as the charter captain, and it's a win-win for the customer, for the captain. It's a win-win-win, because it's a win for the customer, a win for the captain, and a win for the fishery as a whole, because none of those other species are being pursued because we've already got some meat in the box.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't understand why that can't be implemented. And then we could have a closed season during the spawn.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 2 months, we're not going to do any bottom fishing. We're only going to troll. Call it July and August, okay? We're only going to troll in those 2 months. So, there's no bottom species available at that time. but that's okay. You can do with a 2-month closure on bottom fishing, knowing that the other 10 months out of the year, bottom fishing is open.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep the grouper complex closed for that period of time, I don't care. I don't care what you do with the other species, because I can tell you what's going to happen. Guys are going to go down, drop. They're going to go out. They're going to drop down. They're going to get their 4, 5, whatever it is. Maybe a maximum of 6 because of a 6-pack charter. They're going to put a maximum of 6 fish on the box, and then they're going to go target some other species, and everybody gets to take a fillet home. And it just, I don't know. It just, to me, it just is like, this makes more sense than anything else that I've seen proposed so far. I mean, let's talk about that when we come back after the break, because we got to take this first break. If you guys and gals are interested in getting involved, either on the Facebook feed, you can jump in there. You can call us here at the studio at 321-632-1000. That's 321-632-1000. We'd love to hear from you at Catch a Memory Outdoors and see what you think about a total closure on bottom fishing, or potentially being able to bring a red snapper home once in a while. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to be right back after these messages. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors, 7 to 9, every Saturday on WWBC 1510 AM. Remember, you can take us with you just about any time, anywhere. You can go to the streaming app at catchamemory.outdoors.com, and you can click on the Listen Live tab while we're on the air from 7 to 9 on Saturday mornings. Or if you miss the show on Saturday mornings, you can always go back and listen to it there. There's an archive tab. You just drop down the menu, pick the date that you want to listen to, and you can listen to it right there on the website. You can also watch us on YouTube. It takes a couple of days for us to get it up onto the YouTube page, but you can go to Captain Jim Ross YouTube, and you can watch as well, commercial free, because what we have to do for YouTube is cut all the commercials out. Facebook feed keeps the commercials in there for those of you that like Facebook. And then, of course, if you're driving around this morning and you're listening to the AM 1510 AM station, you can also get us on 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7 throughout the Space Coast. Those low power frequencies are designed to be an alternative to the AM signal in the Palm Bay through Titusville area. So 100.7 down towards the south, 94.7 in the Melbourne Vieira area, and then 99.9 in the Cocoa, Rockledge, Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach, and on north area. So there's various ways to be able to get a hold of us. We appreciate y'all tuning in every Saturday. Captain Sonny Richards is in with me, and I'm Captain Jim Ross. For those of you that are just joining the show for the first time, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy the show. You know, Sonny, we were talking about closures, fishing closures, and how they just don't seem to make a whole lot of sense. I'm wondering, is there anybody out there that would have another idea about going about creating a better scenario for these dead discards, as they're called, in the red snapper fishery and in the bottom fishery complex as a whole? Because how many times do you catch a short grouper? How many times do you catch a short, whatever, a sea bass? Well, we don't catch a lot of sea bass anymore. But, and when you do catch one, he doesn't ever seem to be 13 inches or bigger. So taking pressure completely off of the complex, the bottom fishing complex, seems to me to make a lot of sense. And then just go about chasing other species.
You know, Jim, the Gulf has went through a lot of these issues. So in my opinion, they're 10, 15 years.
The Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America. Yes, sir. But, one of the toughest things about regulating fish species for their longevity is protecting a species, but creating balance for other species. Red snapper are widely accused of decimating a lot of the juvenile sea bass population. So, they've been federally regulated to the point that it's throwing the balance off of other species. So your comment about finding that one idea that works across the board, I think it's out there. It's definitely going to take, people smarter than me to actually come up with the details that make it work. But it's people like us that can get that idea kickstarted.
A lot of times you You don't have a biologic degree, a biology degree. You don't have a doctorate in oceanography. Neither do I. Okay, we don't. But what we have is, and every single charter captain and every single fisherman who fishes 20, 30, 40 days a year, every single one of us should be able to have some input in these fishery regulations. And I understand that I don't have the piece of paper that says that I'm the smartest guy in the world. And like I mentioned before, I'm not the brightest crayon, but I'm not the brown one either. Yeah. I'm right there in the middle, but I think that most of us fit in that same slot, and most of us can come to the conclusion that what is being done is not working, is probably never going to work. Like you mentioned, the imbalance in the other species in the way that the snappers are being regulated right now.
Right.
There's got to be a complete revamp of how we're doing this in my mind. And we charter captains, we fishermen that are out there on the water, the guy that, that guy that can get off on Tuesday and Thursday because the weather's nice, and then he can also go on Saturday with the family. That guy needs to be included in this conversation because he's a guy that has on the water experience, X number of hours versus X number of fish caught. That is real world science. And to me, that makes a whole lot more sense than some of the science that's been implied to regulating regulating the fishery.
Another thought on that is that these captains rely on these species.
Yeah.
This is our livelihood. Without these fish, we have to change careers. And I wouldn't make a very good yoga instructor. So I need these fish to live.
Yeah.
And I see the issue is that NOAA's made available comments to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting very opinionated comments from people with very differing ideas on how to manage this species. You're going to get wrong ideas and you're going to get right ideas. But my opinion, and like yours, I think our regulations and comments need to highly fall back on those who aren't opinionated out of how they feel, but opinionated out of what they're seeing and experiencing.
I mean, I'd love to say, we need to open, red, as an example, in the intracoastal waters. There's a red fish closer. I'd love to say, hey, I think there's enough redfish out there to open the fishery back up.
Right.
But when I look at the overall picture, I'm a guy that's chased redfish my entire life. I'm 57. I've been chasing redfish since I was in my teens, 12, 13, 14 years old. I've been actively chasing redfish in our lagoon systems since that time. So let's just say I've got 40 years. We'll just knock the first 17 off of it, okay? I've got 40 years of 200 days or more a year on the water targeting redfish. And I feel like redfish could be opened up. But then again, that's me. I know where to go. I know how to catch them. I know their moves in many cases before they know where they're going to be. I look at a weather pattern and I go, the fish are going to move from here and they're going to be there. I know that in advance because of years and years and years of studying this fish. However, that's just me. That may not be you. You're a charter captain as well, but that may not be you because you haven't studied that fish for that length of time. And then I think about all of the new people that have moved to Florida in the past 10 years, and especially in the past 4 years. And I think to myself, these people have absolutely, they're fledglings. They're babies in their saltwater fishing experience, if you will. They don't have the time on the water that I have. So I can't compare my knowledge and my skill set versus theirs. I have to look at the overall complex of the user group, anglers in this case, and say, how do we get that guy that just moved down from Indiana and he's used to catching perch and walleye and smallmouth bass? How do we get that guy out on the Banana River or Indian River Lagoon and get that guy catching fish and happy about his outing. Well, we don't have enough redfish for that. We don't. So when I look at it, I go, okay, there's the problem. We need more redfish based on the amount of anglers and the skill sets of those anglers to make it worth their time to go fishing. Otherwise, they're going to take up golf or something else, and they're not going to enjoy all of these beautiful waters that Florida has. And so I could go in there and go, oh, there's redfish everywhere. I catch them every day, blah, 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 blah. And I could give that opinion, but then that's not taking into account everybody in the user group. Right. And so they have to take into account everybody in the user group. So there's a little bit different, a little bit different angle, as you were mentioning, that they're looking at it versus what you or I might be looking at it.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what? We're going to take our bottom of the hour break. When we come back, I believe we've got the Mosquito Lagoon report coming in live from Captain Mike Mann. So don't go away. Captain Sonny Richards and myself, Jim Ross, are going to be right back with more Catch a Memory after these messages. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Sun State Pest Management. And if you have a house like mine, the bugs want to get in the house. Cold outside, wet, rainy, blustery. The bugs they're trying to find every little warm, dry spot they can find. My wife came in last night to the living room. She says, I just saw a roach. So you know what's happening. Call up my boys at Sun State Pest Management. Chad will come out, tighten me up a little bit, get those bugs out of the house. And if you need that too, then please give Sun State Pest Management a call. You guys don't have to have insecticides laying around your house, especially if you got dogs, animals, kids that can get into them. It's best if you call a professional. They're going to put down the right type of product to kill the type of pests that you have. And Sun State Pest Management has been doing that for decades and decades now. So give them a call. Tell them you heard about it right here on Catch a Memory Outdoors. It's 800-781-7378. That's 800-781-7378. That's Sun State Pest Management. And you guys and gals can get those bugs out of your house. We're going to go to the phone lines. Captain Sonny Richards and myself are in the studio, and Captain Mike Mann is on the call-in line. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning, Jimmy. Sonny, how you guys doing this morning?
Good morning. Staying warm right now.
Yep.
I left my house. It was 37 degrees. I drove a mile away, got to beachside, and it's 52 degrees. But that wind's kicked a little out of the east. Yesterday, it was just honking out of the north and white capping and 50-degree water temperature when I started yesterday and probably 40-degree air temperature. Today, it's 51-degree water temperature, and we're sitting in the truck still. It's 52 over here. So, but the winds, there's probably 10, 15-mile-an-hour winds out of the northeast, which take anything other than straight north or straight south, because there's a lot of angles you can find when you throw it northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. There's angles you can find. When it's just blowing 20, 25 out it right down the pipe, there's only a few places you can find.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. That due north is a very, very difficult wind to fish the lagoon system on. It leaves you very few options. That's for sure. Very few.
Especially on fly, throwing fly all day yesterday. Yeah. And we ended up with a slam. We had 2 redfish, a black drum, and about 4 or 5 trout all on fly in 50-degree water temperature, with it blowing 15 to 25 by the time we came off. It was so the fish don't mind the bad weather, but I think the difference was that something we haven't seen all week, and it happened yesterday. It's been an oddity this year. Blue skies.
Yes. Yeah, we had 5 straight days of overcast.
And rainy and just cold and miserable. Yeah. And, water temperature, I think Monday when I fished, I think we had 55 to 58-degree water temperature. It was 50, and it warmed up to about 51 when I came off yesterday. And, so far I haven't seen – the only thing I've seen floating is I saw 2 sail cats up here floating. The snook seem to be doing fine. The trout seem to be doing fine. The redfish and black drum, they don't mind the cold.
Were the sail cats do you think those are fish that came out of crab traps and got stressed that way?
It is possible. I mean, they were pretty big to have gotten into a crab trap.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, because they were pretty close together. I don't know if another angler put the bat to them, which, sometimes happens, which I don't get, but, or if it was the cold. It's, they were close together, but I think I saw one other boat yesterday that wasn't a commercial oyster guy.
Yeah.
So who
Interesting.
knows? I heard down south there were a lot of catfish floating. So, I heard that via one captain, talked to Chris Myers, and Chris Myers said there were, this hearsay there were catfish floating everywhere further south. So
Interesting.
yeah, but I'm excited to have some. It looks like after I think Monday we finally get into the 70s, low 70s, and highs or lows in the upper 50s and low 60s for about 10 days.
I'm going to tell you
And
what,
a
Mike.
little bit lighter wind.
Next week, the fishing is going to be incredible. We have dealt with 2 straight weeks of overcast rain and north wind and drizzle, and the fish don't like that, and I don't like that either. I mean,
No.
Talk about character building, but I'm about done with the character building for a while. I'm have to put up with that kind of conditions. I'm done with the character building. I'm ready to get back to let's catch some fish again.
Yeah, my feet haven't been in flip flops, and my legs haven't been in shorts, and hardly any. I don't think this whole year.
Yeah.
And I actually went ahead and ordered some more Orvis pants. I ordered some of those fleece lined ones because long johns and the regular pants weren't cutting it. So I'm looking forward to seeing some 70s and feel. My wife came home yesterday. She goes, "What are you doing?" I was just kind of sitting in the driveway on my tailgate. I said, "It just feels nice to feel the sun."
Yeah. Yep. I can't do that
I
right
think
now, unfortunately. I've been putting the Effidex on, so I've got to stay out of the sun for just a little bit. But I'm I'm not lit up like I have been in the past, so that's a good thing. I've had times in the past where my face was just completely blistered and cracked and bleeding, and this time I've only got a couple of little spots that kind of lit up. So I'm happy about that.
I remember last time you did that, and you were all chewed up.
I look like 5 miles of bad road, man.
Yeah, the things we do for this career.
Yeah.
But as miserable as it has been this week, I still choose it over sitting in a cubicle.
You got that right. You've got that right.
Yeah, but I'm expecting this week. I don't know if we're coming up on the new moon. I think we're coming up on the new moon in 3 or 4 days. So that's going to help a little bit. The water's still really low, and yesterday with that big heavy north wind pushed a lot of water out. I'm thinking with northeast we're going to have the water coming up a little bit higher today. But man, I'm looking forward to some good fishing. There's a lot of schools of redfish, a lot of schools of black drum. And I think this water gets back up that 58, 60 degree range over the next week. And man, everything's going to be chewing.
Mike, you had mentioned those north winds and how it's difficult to find a place out of them. Just the way that the lagoon is sort of situated. Once you get that northeast coming in, you're right. Everything, it gives you angles that you can attack the fish at that are more beneficial to your anglers, because this time of the year, everything, not that it's not like this all the time, but it's specifically critical in times when the fish don't want to eat real well, that your angle of attack and your approach is the right angle. And with the northeast wind, you get better angles compared to how the fish are laying along a particular piece of shoreline. And especially with fly, that's critical. One thing I was going to ask you is, have you been down anywhere south of Preachers lately?
I haven't been south of George's. Other than I went behind the Clinkers a little bit a week ago, and it wasn't finding a whole lot down there. There's just not as much bait on the western shore, and I haven't really. The wind's been so bad, I haven't gone below George's because it's such a rough ride.
Yeah.
Crossing over the basin.
Yeah, on the northeast, you can kind of hug the east side, but on the north, you don't. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get down to
we'll
get down to tigers, that's just a butt kicking.
Oh yeah, and it's been, we've had lighter winds, not light winds, but lighter winds first thing in the morning. It's been 10 to 15, but by 11, 12 o'clock yesterday, going 25. I mean, there were just the run back up through the channel back up to JB's yesterday. I mean, there were 3-foot rollers, and that little Hell's Bay handles it well. But as long as you don't have to make a turn, you're good.
Yeah.
If you have to cut across it and you get some of those quarter-inch seas, there's not a flat skiff in the world that's dry in 3-foot quarter-inch seas.
No. Now, Mike, you had mentioned that you were throwing fly yesterday. Are you sticking with the fly today?
Yeah, we are. We
Okay.
are. I got Nick fishing with me. You guys have seen plenty of pictures of him. Him and his family's been fishing me probably 20 years, and Nick's a fly advocate, and he's pretty darn good with it. So if he'll listen to the fly I tell him to throw, hopefully we can get hooked up.
That's what I was leading to is, okay, it's wintertime. There's not as much grass. There's a lot more sand this time of the year. What kind of fly are one of the listeners out there is going, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to get to Mosquito Lagoon this weekend. What would you say are your top 3 fly patterns right now for the redfish and the black drum? Are you looking for something dark? You looking for something light?
Yep. No, yesterday we were throwing basically a tiny black bait fish imitation. I call it a peanut butter. Little tiny one. I mean, it's maybe an inch long, and then either that, a black clouser, or a slider. I like a Borsky slider, black, and if they're kind of refusing that, I might switch over to an olive. But black seems to be a really great color this time of year, even with the crystal clear water. I think because it stands out.
Gotcha.
And
now,
the nice thing with black is you can get a black drum to eat black flies pretty easy.
That seems to be their favorite. I don't think black drum have that good eyesight. What do you think,
I don't
Sonny?
think they do either.
And I think that black, that contrast to that black, they really can see it and pick it up. So I'm not necessarily convinced that they wouldn't eat white, chartreuse, yellow, other colors, but I think that black, for some reason, they can pick it up and they see it better. So, Mike, going for a guy who's new to saltwater fly fishing, he's just moved here from somewhere in the Midwest, and he's accustomed to throwing, nymphs and dry flies and things like that. There's a fly called a woolly booger.
Yep.
That is a freshwater fly. And it's one of the oldest patterns that I know of, but it's typically tied in black. For those of you guys and gals out there that are fly anglers, if you have woolly boogers from your freshwater background days and you've moved here to saltwater, that is a fly that you can instantly start catching fish on without having to go change out anything else out of your fly box. Black woolly booger.
Definitely.
Black.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and that fly would be similar to, not exactly like, but similar to the Borsky slider that you mentioned.
Yep.
Not necessarily in it is in its size, not necessarily in profile so much, but in action. The action of a woolly booger is going to be very similar to that of a Borsky slider. And so that would be something that you could immediately get out there and start catching fish with.
Yeah, and that's, usually what I start new anglers with, and Nick's sitting here in the truck with me, a clouser. Black clouser, more fish have been caught on fly on a clouser than any other thing. And a woolly booger is great. You got to remember, you want to step up in your size a little bit because you don't want to throw a size 3 hook, size 4 hook to these redfish and trout because you're just going to straighten that hook.
Yep.
Bump up to, a 1/0 or even, just a size 1 and you'll do really well. But I start Nick's. He hated it, black clouser, but we caught fish. But it's, it's not real technical, but it's a fly that works. And the woolly booger's the same. It's very similar. Depending on how you work it, it could be a shrimp, a crab, or a bait fish.
Well, it doesn't have a whole lot of pizzazz, if you will. There's not a lot of flash to a clouser. But you're right, Mike. Sometimes it doesn't have to be the fanciest fly in your box. It has to be the one that the fish will actually eat. And I am famous for tying the ugliest flies you've ever seen in your life, right? But even I can tie a clouser And I fish clousers 70% of the time. There's a clouser tied on one of my fly rods. 70% of the time.
Yeah. Trout eat them, tarpon will eat them. I haven't really gotten too many black drum on clousers, but tarpon, trout, redfish, snook, they all eat them.
Oh yeah.
And it's, ladyfish will eat them basically because it looks like a small bait fish, and it's a super easy meal for the fish to go after.
Like you were mentioning, it's a nondescript pattern. It can be fished like a minnow. It can be fished like a shrimp or a crab. There's a lot of things that you can do with that particular pattern, that clouser pattern. And it's interesting. Bob Clouser actually moved down, and he lives down here in the Cocoa area now. I'm going to try and get him in on a show sometime. Maybe on that particular show you can come in as well or something. But I tell you what, we're up against our break right now. Appreciate the heads up on what's going on in the Mosquito Lagoon, especially for the guys wanting to get out there and throw fly. How does somebody get a hold of you before we head off to break here?
January's booked up, but I got days wide open in February. I think I got about 22 days still available in February. You can give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You can go right to my website, fatfishguide.com. You can follow me on Instagram, CAPT Mike Mann with 2 N's. And right now my Facebook page is down because apparently I don't know why. I'm waiting for them to get my Facebook page back up. But it would be Fat Fish Guide Service, guys.
That sounds like a plan. Well, just look up Fat Fish Guide Service on Google, and it gets right to Captain Mike Mann.
Yep. And, hey, next week I'll be in the studio.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it. Well, you guys be safe out there. Have a great day on the water, and enjoy your time while we don't have to sweat.
Sounds good, Jimmy. You guys get out and catch a memory.
Take care. Hey, gang, Sonny and myself are going to take a short break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch Your Memory, so don't go away. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. Now, listen, this section of the show is brought to you by Engel Coolers. If you guys and gals aren't doing anything right now, jump in the car, jump in the truck after breakfast this morning, and run down to the Engel Cooler plant down in at 900 Jupiter Boulevard, St. Lucie. And they're having a huge sidewalk sale today. Scratch and dents, discontinued items, blims, little things that might have a little defect on the outside of it, inside of it, whatever happens to be. 25, 50, even more % off on everything. Soft-sided coolers, drinkware, hard-sided coolers, dry boxes, everything that they have that they need to move out. They're having a big sale on it until noon today. So jump in the car now. Most of you are going to be an hour to an hour and a half drive away from the Engel Cooler plant down there. So it's definitely worth trying to take advantage of if you're in need of one of those items. I would highly, highly recommend that you jump in the car and get rolling. So if you don't, and you just want to check out what they've got on the website, you can go to engelcoolers.com, look at all the different things that they have there. And, of course, we love our Engel Coolers. So it's been cool, right, Sonny?
It has been.
So what was it? Today's Saturday, Monday. Monday was the last day that I fished offshore. So I went out and threw a 5-gallon bucket of ice in my 80-quart cooler that's in my boat. I threw a 5-gallon bucket of ice in my 60-quart cooler that's in the bed of the truck. Both of them still have ice in them.
Still have ice today. Yeah, I believe it.
They both still got ice in them. Yep. It's amazing. It's not 80 or 90 degrees outside right now. And so it's amazing how long the ice lasts because the cooler was already sort of chilled down from these cooler temperatures. And then you throw the ice in there, and it just lasts for days and days and days. I love Engel Coolers. So, you know what else? I'm gonna do a direct comparison. I have some Yeti cups at the house that I've gotten from this function, that function. People, different functions have different things, and they give you a Yeti cooler. So I've got a cup. And I've got it's the roughly 16-ounce-ish size cup, I would say. I've been drinking out of one for the last couple of days. I just throw some ice in it, throw some water in it, drink out of it, pick it up the next day, drink out of it, throw some more ice in it. I switched over. Now this is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I had to refill my ice in my Yeti cup morning and night. I just switched over on Thursday to my Ingle cup, my Ingle tumbler. I put ice in it Thursday. I put ice in it again yesterday afternoon. And this morning, it still got ice in it. And I thought to myself, basically these look the same. But the Ingle cup easily holds ice twice as long as a Yeti cup. So I never really noticed that before. But I was noticing that this particular week, and I was just thinking to myself, man, I take the cup off of the lid off of the Ingle and go, well, it's still got plenty of ice in it. I really don't need to refill it. Just put some more water in the cup, put the top back on it. So I'm not sure if it's the lid that's different. Well, the lids are different. I don't know if it's the tumbler itself that's different. I don't know if it's a combination of the two. But I just thought to myself, when you're looking to conserve ice, especially in the summertime, because we burn through ice, the Ingle outlasts the Yeti 2-1. 2-1. Not that the Yeti's a bad cup. It's a great cup. But it's not the best. I can tell you that. So, anyway, if you're going to spend that kind of money on a cup, look at the Ingle cups.
Yeah.
They're better. Well, let's get back to talking about some fishing here, because we've talked about various other things. With it being cold, with it being rough, have you been able to run any kind of inshore or nearshore trips as well?
We do. We
Okay.
do. We run inshore. And as every inshore fisherman knows, this weather has a huge impact on the movement of the fish. So we go out with our idea of what we want to target, and we typically change up our plans
Three times,
4 times throughout the day. I've always said if you can figure out a fish, then you've got it made. But we have. We've run a lot of inshore trips. There's always our fallback species that are biting year-round, nonstop, no matter what. And very few trips have been off the reef line on the beach. Yeah. If it's rough offshore, it's been rough at the beach line as well.
Yeah.
So we've been minimized on.
So are you targeting stuff inside the inlet, like bluefish, ladyfish, jacks, snook, reds, that kind of thing?
We do, yeah.
Or are you going up and down the lagoon system?
We'll go up and down the lagoon. Some days, depending on the weather wind direction, we'll maybe run into the lagoon, target some docks, bridge pylons, and just kind of work our way back towards the inlet. We always try to save the fast action stuff for last, just to end the trip with some sore arms. So blues are usually the way to go this time of the year for that.
I had going back to talking about that trip I had on Monday. It was a very interesting trip because I was looking at, north wind at 20, and I'm thinking, man, if we can just get some sun, we'll do something. We get out there the first hour and a half, we're giving away shrimp, but we're not hooking anything. And it was just little rock fish, just pick, little pins, little whatevers. Just pick. Burn through 3 dozen shrimp or so in the first hour and a half. Nothing to show for it. Make a move. Sun comes out just a little bit. Just peeks through the clouds. Boom. We get on a good solid ladyfish bite. And these ladyfish were all 2 to about 3.5 pounds. So they were decent sized ladyfish. Pull some drag on a light spinning reel, that kind of thing. And sun went away. Bite went away. Next hour and 20 minutes or so, we're hitting 2-3 other different spots. Once again, little pecks, half a shrimp back, throw a half a shrimp out, get a quarter of a shrimp back. It was that kind of it was just a pick, nothing really wanting to bite. So I ran outside. The wind was out of the north, so I ran outside. I went up the beach. I started looking at some of those troughs, those outflows, those things that those things that are different that typically hold fish. I didn't catch a single fish all the way up and down the beach. Not a bluefish, not a Spanish mackerel, not a nothing. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous that we can't find something to bite. So went back and I said, let's go check one more spot back inside the inlet. And the last hour, because we stayed over 45 minutes, a little bit, past when we should have been out there, we ended up getting better bites. Didn't catch everything, but we ended up getting, water temp was 61.5 degrees inside the port. We got a snook, a redfish, a black drum, a bluefish, and and a speckled trout. We got 5 species in 15 minutes. Finished, like I said, finished strong. But I'm thinking to myself, it's 61 degrees. What are the snook doing eating in 61 degree water? And he was the first fish that we caught.
Oh, wow.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to come back. We've got a whole lot more that we're going to be talking about in this next hour. So don't go away. Sonny Richards and myself are going to be right back after these messages. So don't go away. Welcome back. Appreciate you guys and gals tuning in for the second hour of the show. If you're just joining us for the second hour of the show, grab a cup of coffee. Enjoy. We've got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. I'm Captain Jim Ross, and we've got Captain Sonny Richards in the studio with me this morning. Tino Villaverde from All About Archery just texted me a picture of his yard up in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
There's still snow on the ground.
Still snow.
It's Florida. There's snow on the ground, and he has 5. He's got 6 turkeys, 3 of which are all full strut. I guess right by his front door, because this is a close. Oh no, this must be a game camera picture. I see it now. It's a game camera picture. I thought he took this with his phone, but at 1:24:25 at 8:41 a.m. doesn't give a temperature, but there's snow on the ground. But he's got birds standing there, long beards, full strut, fans out. It's not going to be long before we're getting excited about turkey season. I mean, it's hard to think about it right now because it's cold, and all you want to do is stay out of the cold. But looking at the outside, we've got the picture of the parking lot up on the security camera. It looks pretty sunny out there today. I'm excited about
from that.
Actually,
it looks like a good day to be on the water. We have 40 degrees, but the sun's out, and you notice that the palm trees, the shadow of the palm tree in the picture, it's not moving. No.
That's the first time that's happened in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It has been blowing. It has.
My cousin Roger the other day, he says, "Cuz, what are you doing?" I was out on the Monday. I was out on the water because every other day it was raining, and so I canceled. He says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm out here bobbing around in this, 20-knot wind." He goes, "Dude," "the palm trees, all the leaves are all on one side of the tree. They're not on both sides right now." He goes, "You realize what that?" I was like, "I know what that means. You don't have to tell me. I'm out in it. It's 20 and gusting to 25. I know what that is." Yeah. So he says, "Man, I can't believe you're out there." And I'm like, "Well, had some customers from Milwaukee. They said that, 50 degrees and 20 knots and overcast was warm, and they wanted to go because they showed me their phone and it was 7 degrees at home."
Yeah. That's the thing this time of the year. We do what we have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to talk them out of going. I did. I honestly tried it. Not that I don't need some money, because Jim's been canceling a lot of charters lately, but it was like, guys, it's going to be cold. It's going to be a struggle. We might get some fish. We might not. Fortunately, as we ended the last hour of the show, we finished strong and with a good variety of fish. But it was really weird. It was literally a 20 or 25 minute bite, and then it shut off again. Yeah. And it was that fast. It was, we're on, we're going to eat a little bit, and we're off, and done. So, this, and so here's the thing. This time of the year, looking at the solar lunar tables and that sort of thing, you typically want to try and pick a time around the solar lunar tables because you generally have an increase in activity. On days like we've had lately, you can throw all that out the window. Just throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. The only thing that seems to matter in cold days is the sun out or is the sun not out? And when the sun's out, they'll eat. And when the sun's not out, they don't eat.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter tide, time, where the moon is, what direction the wind's blowing, because we have all kinds of excuses. What the barometer's doing.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
We can come up with all kinds of excuses, Sonny, as to why the fish aren't biting.
Absolutely.
We're experts at that.
I think that bite cycle is not just related to one spot. We've seen it way down in Sebastian, the same thing.
Yeah. You were talking about offshore too.
Yes, offshore. The bite's been identical. We spent our last trip fishing offshore, and I thought, wow, something's off. We are not getting a single bite. And like you said, within, towards the end of the trip, and within a 30-minute window, everything turned on, and it was an exciting bite. And got the blood pumping for at least half an hour there. But, it's been odd. It's definitely an oddity. Like you said, we can't base it off of our tide conditions right now like we typically do during season.
Yeah, there's so many other times of the year when you simply have to look at, okay, is it an incoming tide bite? Is it an outgoing tide bite? Is it a dawn bite? Is it a dusk bite? Is it a moon phase bite as opposed to the sun? There's a lot of things that we have to calculate or try to calculate in our brains to make sure that we're on the water when the fish are going to bite. But this time of the year, it just seems like you can throw all that out the window, and if there's sun, you'll get a bite.
Yep.
If there's no sun, it's a struggle. And that's today. I'm looking at that picture of the parking lot, and I'm just going, man, that's the first day in weeks that we've had these kind of conditions. Yesterday afternoon was better. We had a little high haze, but we didn't have super blue sky, and in letting the sun have maximum effect and maximum intensity going into the water column. So I'm a little worried about that 50 degrees that Mike was talking about.
I am too. I know what happens in Sebastian area when that water drops at that temperature.
Yeah.
Especially when that bottom gets cold. I think last year we've seen quite a few flounder float.
Really?
Hopefully it's not a repeat. I'm supposed to go out today, so we'll see what it looks like.
That's yeah. Oh, his outside temperature, his water. Well, he said that yesterday his water temp started at 50 as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So you mentioned flounder, Sonny, and that is a species that I have had a very difficult time finding this year. Have you found it to be the same?
Everyone is finding it to be the same this year.
Okay, I thought it might just be me.
I would say a month before season opened, we actually found several nice flounder.
Mm-hmm.
But since the opening, it's been slim. We've seen a few come out. Another charter guide out of Sebastian got a nice 9-pound flounder.
That's a good
out
one.
Towards the inlet. Outside of that, it's been slim.
And in years past, I can remember going down and fishing Sebastian Inlet, and to me, when the water temperature in the lagoon drops below 60, that's when the flounder fishing in the inlet generally gets really good.
Yeah.
Because the ocean water is generally somewhere around 66, 67, 68-ish, and that incoming tide and that change from incoming to outgoing, when you have the warmer water moving in or that, like I say, that top of the tide scenario, for me, has been a pretty darn good bite over the years when I have those conditions. And this year, it's just like, it just hasn't mattered. It just hasn't mattered. Not for me. And I guess there's a lot of guys that are feeling the same way.
We fished, the same kind of setup, incoming tide, when that inshore water is nice and cold. And we've gotten some undersized flounder out of it, but nothing worth calling home about.
Yeah.
I know last summer we had some pretty hot days in the water temps, and when water temps got up, we noticed a lot of mainly puffer fish and flounder floating. I don't know if that's impacted. I don't think it was enough in our area to impact that, but there's definitely something going on with flounder.
Yeah. Well, the red snapper might be eating them.
Yeah, you never know. Start catching those at the inlet pretty soon. So.
You don't have to go too far past the rocks before you can find them right now. So
yeah, yep.
that's That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, I tell you what, let's do something real quick before the next break. Let's go ahead and get some of this stuff out of the way that I'd like to move out of the way, because I want to talk about, we're coming into the springtime, and that's an exciting time for us as anglers. Let's talk about the fishing and boating conditions. It's not all that great out there, guys and gals. Small craft caution today, north at 15 to 20 is what it's calling, and then switching this evening to northeast at 10 to 15. Sounds like Mike Mann's already got a northeast maybe going up in the Ponce area, but here in Canaveral and south at Sebastian, it sounds more like it's going to be a north switching later to a northeast. Seas inside of 20 miles are supposed to be about 3 to 5 feet with a dominant period of around 8 seconds. Up at Ponce Inlet, the 13-mile buoy, water temp 59 degrees. That's ocean water, 13 miles offshore. 5 foot at 8 seconds. Not fun. Port Canaveral, this is one of the lowest temps that I've seen in a long time. The 4-mile buoy is reporting 57 degrees.
Wow.
That's cold ocean water.
That is very cold.
3 foot at 8 seconds. 20-mile buoy is showing 71 degrees and 6 foot at 7 seconds a little while ago. The period should start to spread out just a little bit, though, and drop. And the 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce, 59 degrees. Yeah, 59 degrees in Fort Pierce, 5 foot at 8 seconds down there. So our inshore waters, there's that wedge of north to south flowing current, or a south flowing current if you're a little more nautical. So we've got a south flowing current, and it is driving a wedge down the beach line of cold water that's pushing the western edge of the Gulf Stream actually out. Right now it's 49 miles out of Ponce. It's 36 out of Canaveral, and it's 29 miles out of Sebastian. That's a hike.
Yeah, it is. That's a little further than typical.
That is a hike to get to the edge of the stream out of those three inlets. Surf temp at Ponce, 58. Cocoa Beach, 58. Sebastian, 59. Tides look like this. We got a low this morning, 10:45. High this afternoon at 4:24, and a low this evening at 10:46 this morning. 4:24 p.m. for the high this afternoon, and 10:25 p.m. for the low this evening. And then a low this morning at Sebastian is 10:39, and then 4:25 is your high, and 10:56 is your low. So it looks like this afternoon may actually be a pretty decent time to fish down at the inlet, because right there between high tide and sunset is when you should get your change of tide, most of it being an incoming tide. So a little warmer than what the river water is. Not much, though. Solar tables, we've got 8:04 a.m. this morning to 10:04 a.m. and a minor at 1:38 p.m. to 2:38 p.m. right in the middle of the day. I honestly think that's going to be a pretty good time if that sun stays out. For guys fishing the flats, that's going to be a good time. Mid-afternoon, midday, and afternoon is going to be great. And then we've got an 8:33 p.m. and a 10 to 10:33 p.m. major again tonight. And those conditions are brought to you by the great guys down at All About Archery. And like I said, Tino had sent a picture of the turkeys in his front yard in full strut. Yeah. They're ready. I'm ready. We just need the season to open so we can go put those two together.
That's it.
My turkey loads and them in full strut need to come together real soon. Hey guys and gals, we're going to be right back with a whole lot more Catch Your Memory with Sonny Richards and myself, Jim Ross, after these messages. So don't go away. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. It's been a cold week, and Tino from All About Archery, we were talking about it, sent a picture of his snow at his house up in the Panhandle, and I'm talking inches and inches of snow. I mean, we had just an absolute crazy event with this snow event this year. It's just shocking to me that here we are, snow in Florida. Go figure, huh? Go figure. We want to let you know this segment of the show is brought to you by Petrucci Insurance. And get ready, guys and gals. All of that damage that we've had on the coast, West Coast in particular, the last 2 years, It's coming. I just got my renewal, and it's up about 26% from what it was last year. Unfortunately. So call Petrucci Insurance. Make sure that they do a rate quote for you, because there's a lot of companies out there that are willing to continue bumping you in your price. Make sure that they do a rate quote and make sure that you're getting the best coverage at the best possible price. Don't just take for granted that your insurance company is looking out for you, because they're not. Petrucci Insurance is an independent agent. They find the best insurance company to fit your needs at the best price. That's what they do day in and day out. That's why I stick with Petrucci Insurance. They're always helping me save money. They can do the same for you, so please give them a call. 321-632-1200. That's 632-1200. Tell them you heard about it right here on the radio show at Catch a Memory. We're going to go to the phone lines. Captain Jeff Kranick from the Coastal Sportsman is calling in this morning. Jeff, are you on the water today?
Unfortunately, I am not.
No, you're not on the water, really?
Nah, I rolled my ankle in the boat last weekend, and I have given it no rest, and it's making me pay for it this morning. So
it's letting you know, huh? Letting you know.
Yeah, I was supposed to hunt with the guys. Fuchs had a permit for TM Goodwin this morning, but I called him last night, and I said, I'm going to be an adult about this and sit this one out.
Well, have you talked to him this morning? Has he shot anything yet, or are they flying?
I have not. Nobody has answered the phone, which tells me that they walked into a cell instead of taking one of the boat cells. So
yeah.
They had some pintail scouted out from earlier in the week. So hopefully they'll get on them this morning.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. Well, we were supposed to go to Shiloh on Wednesday, but
yes,
I couldn't do it.
Per the biologist, it was not worth the drive up there.
Yeah, and that weather just reinforced that fact.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody saw the video on Blair's page from Tuesday, but I haven't been in a rainstorm like that in years, and it was in the dark at 4:30 in the morning. The bilge pump was having a tough time keeping up.
Jeez. Yeah, it was coming down. It was coming down.
But, well, got a lot coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Next weekend is the Veterans Hunt. So if you're a honorably or medically discharged veteran, you can hunt an extra day coming up next Saturday. TM Goodwin Broadmoor has their annual Veterans Hunt, and even if you haven't gotten a permit for it, everybody gets in somewhere or another.
Gotcha.
There John Webb, the biologist down there, does a great job. And then the weekend after, 2 weeks from today, is their annual youth hunt. And the way that works is they have a camp out the night before with a huge bonfire on the property up there at the observation tower.
Okay.
If you're brave, you can sleep there overnight. Dinner is provided by Daryl Jacobs, the attorney out of Vero Beach. They'll also do breakfast in the morning, have a hunt. Kids will get back at the check station at 11, where they'll have some prizes and feed them a late breakfast, early lunch, and then they're out of there.
That sounds like two great weekends for two great causes. You know, Jeff, you were talking about that veterans hunt, and so veterans that want to get out and do a little hunting down there in the Broadmoor Marsh, by being able to put that many people in the marsh, I imagine that keeps the birds up and rallying around pretty good.
It does. It does. We had an unbelievable hunt last year. We ended up in the northern part of Broadmoor,
mm-hmm.
and it was just absolutely spectacular. One of the best hunts of the year last year. So, and it's just not a TM Goodwin. It's statewide. United Waterfowlers and Delta Waterfowl, they've got some veteran hunts down south that they're doing at the STAs. obviously the public marsh will all be open. So, yeah, it honors the veterans by giving them their own day to hunt.
Right. Well, I tell you what, that's a great thing that's being done for that group. That's for sure.
And I don't have the date in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's the first Saturday night in March will be the Space Coast chapter of Ducks Unlimited's annual dinner and banquet auction. And they'll be doing that at the Senior Center there on Culver Road in Palm Bay and 95.
Okay. Well, we'll have to get some more information on that and get that out to the public over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll have John Resch call in and give you the information. You can talk about it.
Perfect. Well, you rest up that ankle and hopefully get better, and you'll be ready to go next weekend.
Yes, sir. Drop me a line after you get off the air. I need to chat with you.
Sounds like a plan. I'll give you a holler.
Okay, buddy. Tight lines, everyone.
Take care, and thanks for the call.
See you.
All right. Bye-bye now. Yeah, that's something that the last couple of years that I've really kind of started to get interested in is doing a little duck hunting. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like a boat. It's good to have friends
Always.
that have all the duck stuff. Jeff and Kyle Weaver and Blair Wiggins and these guys, they all have, they're all set up and ready to go. So basically, all I have to do is just, bring my shells and my gun and my camo and off we go. And we go get all their stuff set out, which is really nice because I don't have room in my yard for another boat. I just don't. 2 Skeeters and a Pathfinder sitting in the yard right now, and we're out of room. So that's how that's working. So I'm very, very fortunate that those guys invite me along to go along with them, and they've got all the gear. Well, Sonny, you know what? Let's go ahead and take our bottom of the hour break because I want to talk about we're going to come into the springtime. We've had the worst of the weather. Everything's going to start getting better. We've got a fantastic stretch coming up this next week and a half, which looks like the fishing's going to be super, super good. I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about getting out on the water. And I actually have, I think 1 or maybe 2 slots midweek left. I think I've got an afternoon and then a full day. The rest of the week and the following week are pretty much booked up. So I'm excited about filling those last couple of spots and getting a run at this good weather and these fish that haven't eaten in a while and should be ready to eat. So we're going to take our break. When we come back, Sonny Richards and myself, Jim Ross, are going to be back after this break, so don't go away. Welcome. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday. This segment of the show is brought to you by Direct Graphics up in Cocoa. If you're looking for any kind of promotional items, truck wraps, boat wraps, anything that you need, printed T-shirts, they do all of it. Give them a call up there at Direct Graphics, 321-631-1001. They can design it, print it out for you, install it on your vehicle, and get you and your business looking fantastic. Or if you just want to jazz up the side of your boat, put some nice color on it, they can do that for you too. We're going to go to the phone lines. Captain Glenn Austin's on the line right now. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's it going this morning?
Good, buddy. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We're seeing a water temp right now of 50.38 degrees.
Woo!
We're going to head south, go in the inlet a little bit, see if we can get any trout and bluefish and mackerel, and then maybe hit a couple flats or a couple deep channels, see what's going on.
Well, the sun is out, and that's the most important thing.
You're exactly right, man. Got rid of the cloud and the gloom. So sun's out. It's actually warming up a bit. It's still cold, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more pleasant than it has been the last few days, especially when I got 3 or 4 layers on.
Well, I was going to say 40 is 40 degrees at our studio in Cocoa, but 40 with no wind and full sun feels better than 65, overcast, drizzly, and hard north at 20.
You are correct. You are correct. And we don't have a whole lot of wind yet. It feels straight north, but it's real light right now, 5 at the most, maybe 10, 5 to 10. I would say it's more 5 degrees, 5 miles per hour.
That's
See,
good.
it's so cold I can't even talk.
Well, hopefully it's not so cold that those snook are floating and that those fish won't bite for you.
Well, we're gonna look around see if we see any floating. I know that's the magic number right now. We're at it. So if the sun stays out, hopefully it'll warm up a few degrees today before we have any issues. We'll see what goes on. But like I said, we'll head down the inlet, try and get some trout, some mackerel, some jacks, some bluefish, and see what's going on.
Gotcha. Well, good luck with it, buddy. And it looks like we have dodged the freeze bullet, so that's a good thing. And hopefully you guys won't find any
Absolutely.
floaters today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thanks for the call, Glenn.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye now. Okay. Hey, we got Blair Wiggins calling on the line now. What's going on with the Mogan man this morning?
I am driving north. It is that time of season for boat shows again.
Yep. Which one you going to today, Bled?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville show today, huh?
Yeah, I'll be doing a seminar up there to 2:00 this afternoon, 12:00 tomorrow. Going to be talking about the Indian River clam restoration project, of course, and also talking about how Mosquito Lagoon's doing. And yeah, just kind of give everybody an update, tell them what to fish with, and all that kind of good stuff for springtime coming up. And talking about deck cats, man, the deck cats up there, they got the brand new trilogy up there, and it is definitely turning some heads.
Very cool. Very cool. All kinds of good stuff going on. And, you know, talking about the clam restoration project and the lagoons themselves, they're looking better this year than they've looked in the last 4 or 5. So hopefully we'll continue on that trend right on through the spring and summer.
Yep, we are. We got our fingers crossed. We got about, God, I think we got 5 million ready to go right now, and they're the bigger size clams, so we're going to have to put them out by hand, it looks like, and they're a little bit too big for that drone.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we will. We'll probably be asking for volunteers coming up. Just keep an eye on the IRL clam page, and you know, everybody out there, anybody who wants to help out, we're going to have some bags for sure.
Well, I'll be there to help if I can be there, buddy.
Well, cool beans, brother. I do appreciate it.
Enjoy the weekend, and if anybody's looking, that's the Jacksonville Boat Show, and is that where are they holding that at?
It's down at the downtown in the the convention center right downtown.
Gotcha. All right, brother. Well, thanks for the call, and have a safe weekend.
All right, man. Y'all have a great weekend.
Take care. That's awesome. And that clam project has been a huge benefit to the lagoon system, and we're seeing clams, seed clams, just popping up everywhere from spawns from the clams that have been placed. That water's just getting better and better. It's looking good for the next couple of years. I'm really excited about it. You know, Sonny, you were mentioning during the last break, though, we're talking about, you know, having a bottom closure. And that's obviously never a good thing. Anytime you're having to close a species due to reduced numbers or to, you know, because of protection issues. But you were saying that you've had a really good dolphin bite this winter.
We have exceptional.
Now, are you only fishing out of Sebastian, or are you fishing out of Fort Pierce, or are you fishing out of Canaveral?
We launch and run out of the Sebastian Inlet, but we go north and south to any degree depending on water.
Yeah, your boat's big enough; you can run all over the place.
Yeah, so we've seen most of our mahi action is southeast, but not quite to Fort Pierce. So, but yeah, mahi, blackfin, tuna coming in pretty thick.
And what depths are you finding those fish in best?
Usually, especially right now, being that the water near shore is so cold, it's pushed a lot of green water further out, like you were saying,
Right,
pushing the Gulf Stream out. So we find the edge of that green water, and right now it's running between 120 and 130.
Okay.
And that's where we seem to be finding our biggest numbers of
So
mahi.
you probably got, what, about a 15-ish, 18-ish mile run?
About 18-mile run.
To get to,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's not normally that far, but
No,
but
isn't.
with, like you
Yeah.
say, with that, you know, with that Gulf Stream being pushed out a little farther, the western edge of the Gulf Stream being pushed out as far as it is, it's a little bit longer run than normal.
You know, and the weird thing is we ran out to the Gulf Stream edge thinking, okay, we have this nice water temperature change.
Yeah.
If we're finding mahi and blackfin at 130, we should really capitalize at the stream edge. But it hasn't been there.
Really?
Hasn't been there, which is shocking to me. But
Now, is that Is that due to they're holding, let's say, over a piece of structure like a ridge or a reef line?
They are at the edge of some reef systems.
Okay.
But I think the biggest reason is because of that extra cold water and our offshore water colliding, and there's such a drastic difference there. It's collecting a lot of bait. So it's holding good
It's all
food
about the
source.
food. Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It's holding good food source. We're not seeing much on top as far as food source out deeper. So it gives reason that they're just following that cold line from the South Florida all the way up.
Now, you mentioned the dolphin and the blackfin. Now, blackfin tuna, are you catching these fish on the same type of rigs, or are you having it? Because sometimes,
Yeah.
dolphin will hit one thing and blackfin don't want that. They want to hit something. They want to hit something
Typically,
different.
if we're fishing mahi and we want to capitalize on a blackfin, we'll throw something on a shotgun way back just for that tuna. The last couple of trips, no,
And
we don't have
small
to.
and black
Small
or
and
dark.
black,
Yeah.
Yeah, last couple of trips, they're hitting the same rig ballyhoo that the mahi are hitting,
Really?
and they're big. They're big tuna. They're not our customary smaller blackfins.
So you're getting fish over 20 pounds versus
Oh, yes.
fish under 20.
Yes. Yep. And once you find that zone, the best thing I can recommend this time of the year is stay there. Don't leave it. Don't venture out to try to find something better. I've done that several times.
You
and
burned enough fuel to let everybody else know about
so I'll
it.
save someone else the money, But yeah, man, it's they're there, and the bite doesn't seem to shut down at any given point. Once that sun comes out, we've hit it right there at the sunrise, and the bite's not there. We have to wait for that sun to actually break clouds and do some shining before they hit.
That is so interesting, because I have a couple of customers here in the last few weeks. In wintertime, I don't get out early. I mean, I'll start at 8:30, 9 o'clock. I roll it back a little bit. In fact, sometimes I'll just tell my customers, hey, they're like, oh, we're ready to go at 6. And I'm like, well, let's meet at the local cafe and we'll have some breakfast, and then we'll go fishing after, that kind of thing, because it's not imperative to be on the water super early at this time of the year.
Right.
And it's interesting that even offshore, that's the same thing's occurring.
It is. Usually you can have quite a difference in the bite between inshore and offshore this time of the year. Offshore has definitely not been what I would expect it to be. You definitely have to time it better and watch a cloud cover right now.
So sun is a dependent factor for your offshore bite as well.
It is.
What do you think? What has caused this better dolphin bite this year? Do you think it's weather conditions? Do you think it's change in the regulations, because we've reduced the number of fish that we can keep per trip? Do you have any one thing that you could point to, or?
I would say, the devastation that the west coast of Florida experienced. I think a lot of those heavy storms have pushed some of the Gulf of America mahi out of their habitat, and kind of swung them over into the migration. So they're, the Gulf is just loaded with mahi, but, from what I've heard from several captains is they like the Gulf and they stay there.
Yeah.
But when you get heavy storms like that, of course, it pushes fish around.
And they had,
heavy, so.
they had a heck of a hurricane season again this year.
They did. And I think we're seeing a lot of those mahi that they have in the Gulf, swing around the south of the state.
Coming through the Straits of Florida.
Yep.
Come around the tip and right on past Miami and come on up.
Yep, joining that migration pattern.
Interesting. The other side of that is we generally don't get ocean waters this cold. So, as you know, and a lot of our listeners know, that cold water is going to push everything that's north of us south.
Yes.
I remember last year and even a couple of years ago, they were still catching dolphin off of North Carolina in December.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's just crazy to have dolphin off of the mid-Atlantic coast in the wintertime.
And they had some big ones, too.
Yeah, they did.
They had some big
and
ones.
Jacksonville had cobia out the yin-yang and wahoo everywhere last year. Now, I haven't really talked to those guys that I know that fish up there as much this season to see if they're still having those conditions. But I would say, you know, I temperature's like a push broom. When you put a push broom down on your garage floor and you start at one end and you start getting to the other, the more you push, the more you collect.
Right.
And that cold temperatures, those colder water temperatures, drive those fish farther south. And this year, I mean, we've seen these temperatures just right here off the Cape, inshore of the 20-mile buoy, are well below, 70 degrees, and some of them right on the beach is 58. So when you see that kind of a push, once they get down to a certain point where the temperature's acceptable to them into the bait, that's where they hang out. Yeah. And so what's exciting about this year for me is you're already seeing it in your fishing with the dolphin and the tuna. They're not up in North Florida right now. They're down here. I'm excited to see what happens with our cobia season. On our cold years with cold water, we typically have much better cobia seasons because it takes all those fish that are all up along the north coast and the north coast of Florida, south coast of Georgia, and it scours the ocean basically, and it scours them and pushes them all to the south. So if you take the entire biomass of cobia and you stage them off of, let's say, St. Lucie or or West Palm or down to the south, then they all have to come back past Central Florida, past Sebastian Inlet, past Port Canaveral, past Ponce Inlet. And so that gives us way more opportunity, a longer duration of a period, and more fish to shoot for, because it takes a longer time to get all the fish through rather than half of the school or half of the biomass of those fish through.
It's been a few years since I've been able to sight fish cobia off the beach, but I think this might be that year.
Well, I can tell you, I'm looking at that screen up there, looking at that parking lot. I still don't see that palm tree's not moving much.
It isn't.
We get a few days like this in next week, we may see those fish pop up right there, right at the inlet or just south of the inlet.
I have high hopes for next week. I hope it doesn't let us down. So
you and me both, brother. Hey, guys and gals, we're going to take our last break of the day, but Sonny Richards and myself, Jim Ross, are going to be right back with more Catch a Memory, so don't go away. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Strike Zone. And if you're looking for the best place around to go find all of the stuff that Sonny and I have been talking about, as far as lures, rods, reels, lines, any of the additional equipment, the gaffs, the nets, the things like that, you can stop in at Strike Zone. They've normally got a huge selection of everything that you could possibly want to pack into a boat to get out there on the water and have a great day of fishing. So stop in at Strike Zone and tell them you heard about it right here on Catch a Memory Outdoors. Kyle Weaver just sent me a text. It's a snapshot or something. Said the sailfish bite here in the last couple of days apparently has been really good.
Nice.
There was a boat. Let's see. Day one. Day one is in the books. Team Mallard. Now this is a tournament down south, I'm assuming. Caught 43 out of 55 sails.
That's a good day.
That's an epic day. 43 out of 55, nonstop action. That is really cool. Kyle just sent that. West Palm Sail Tournament, the West Palm Beach Sailfish Tournament. 43 out of 55 yesterday. So that's a heck of a day one.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing any sails?
No, which is what makes that report really good.
They're all down there.
They're all down
they all
south.
have to come back by us.
They all have to come back by us. So, our last few trips, we went out, we pulled a couple of long rigs for sails and haven't seen a single one. So, I like hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, when you're out there, we only have, I can't believe we're almost out of showtime.
No.
It's gone. Where the heck did it go? Let's talk about a Sonny Richards spread when he's out there chasing these dolphin and these tuna at this time of the year. What's your spread look like behind your boat?
I typically start off with only 4 to 5 lines in the water.
Okay.
I go small when I first start. I run 2 lines in my wash, and those lines,
Now, do you clip those lines down on a flat line clip?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I clip both sides down, so they're running flat. My outriggers, I run staggered at probably, 100 foot maybe behind the boat. And then I run a shotgun out probably twice that, if I want to try to hit that stray tuna that might be running through. I've always had better luck on tuna on my shotguns. Get them away from that action a little bit where they feel like
They
they're
don't
on that
seem to
motor
like
bait.
the boat motor that much.
They don't.
It's interesting. Tuna, bigger dolphin, wahoo. Oftentimes, it's that super, super long line that picks that fish up. It's that shotgun line. Outriggers are typically dolphin riggers, but here's the anomaly. Here's the head scratcher.
I know what you're going to
The
say.
flat line.
Yes.
Sometimes you look in the flat line and there's a tigerfish swimming in the flat line, or
Yeah.
that's the one he eats, is the one right at the prop wash. And it's like, okay, why is the wahoo not hitting the outriggers? He wants it either right at the transom of the boat, or he wants it so far back
Way
that
out.
you don't even know he's even exists, and in the ocean the same ocean you're in.
Yeah. Our flat lines the last 2 trips have been the ones that not only are hooking up, but we're getting double hooks on those.
Interesting.
That's when you get hookups like that and everything is just haywire. You're going, nuts on the boat trying to manage
Especially with a
clients
dolphin,
and-
because now they're going to go try and jump over the outrigger line and then jump back over the other outrigger line.
Yeah. Yep. One of our last trips, Jim, we hit 2 mahi on our flat lines right in the wash behind the boat, and then the blackfin started hitting one outrigger and the shotgun all at the same time.
Really?
It was a madhouse. Yeah. And you're trying to guide some of the charter clients who have never fished once in their life. So now you have to tell them what to do and hope they don't mess that up.
Yep. And
But,
keep the boat straight.
And keep the boat
clear
straight.
the other line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you got teasers out, do you run teasers at all?
I do.
I was gonna say, you got to get the teasers out of the water, or at least get them pulled up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, pulling those lines in, that's pretty easy. I can tell whoever I need to just reel that in.
Just reel it in.
Reel it in. But, yeah, man, it's exciting. I mean, this time of the year, we usually don't get that kind of exciting topwater where it's a continuous thing. Getting a fish or two is pretty common, but the schools that we're seeing out there now, we're loving it.
So now I have a question. Okay, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that all of a sudden it's a 1 to 2 foot day. We've got a light breeze, and a guy's in his bay boat, and he's like, "Man, I want to try and go do this." Like me and my my Skeeter, my 24 Skeeter. Okay, a guy's got his Pathfinder, he's got his Nautic Star, he's got his whatever he's got, and he says, "Man, I'd really like to go try and do some dolphin fishing." What would you recommend for a guy? I don't have outriggers. What would you recommend for a guy like me that wants to go pull some ballyhoo, try and drag some lures? How does he set up his smaller boat to go do some of this when he gets that weather window?
So on a smaller boat like that, if you have a center console small boat with rocket launchers, use them. You can set your drags to what you need to. I used to have a 19-foot center console, Jim, and I would fish that offshore like crazy. I used my rocket launcher on a T-top to run a few shotguns.
Yep.
And I'd run 2 rods on each side of the boat, staggered, 2 flat lines and 2 which would be my outrigger lines, but they're in the gunnel.
Right.
So,
right.
Running
So
2.
you'd actually run a 5-line spread.
Yeah.
it sounds
Oh,
like.
yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
So
6.
You got 2 transom clipped flat lines
Yes.
in the prop wash.
Yep.
You've got 2 sort of in-gunnel rods that are angled out slightly at a 45
Yep.
as your quote-unquote outriggers. And then you've got the one coming off of the top as your shotgun.
Yes.
So, no, I do this, and I've seen guys do this plenty of times with kingfish, with super light drags, running your rods as outriggers out of your side-mounted T-top rod holders.
Yep.
Is there a detrimental side to doing that with a standard trolling rig?
I would say starboard, in my opinion. I've run them like that before, and depending on wind conditions, sea conditions, your turn directions and stuff. But what I think a lot of people miss is on those long lines of shotguns, setting the drag light at the reel doesn't mean it's set light at the hook.
At the hook, yeah.
So you're going to get a hookup. You're going to get the start point of that hookup in that fish that gives you plenty of time to get that rod out of that hole and actually set the drag and get the fish landed. But
so most of us are running lever drags, okay, with our trolling rods. So I've seen guys where they put it in the, as a outrigger out of the T-top
right,
rod holders, like you're king fishing, but they set the drag at their normal strike drag ratio because they're pulling a ballyhoo. And then they can't pull the rod out of the rod holder because the fish has it pinned in place.
yeah,
And so that's a great tip. Lighten up on your drag just a little bit so that you can get the rod out of that T-top mounted rod holder and get it down, and then come to full strike after you've pulled it down.
yep, absolutely. And we've done the same thing, by accident, set that rod up on the either the port side or the starboard side and not be able to get it out.
It's just pinned. Yeah.
What
It's
are you going to
pinned
do? Especially if you get a heavy fish that you have the drag tightened down and he's still pulling drag, it's a hard situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, live and learn.
Live and learn.
And,
yeah.
And don't drop the rod.
Yes. Don't drop the rod.
When you go to pull it out of that rod holder, you better hold on to that thing tight because he's trying to jerk it out of your hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're overhead reaching for it, that it magnifies that amount of difficulty. It's amazing how 2 or 3 pounds of drag can feel like it's 7 or 8.
It does. Yeah.
Because you're unbalanced and it does. So yeah, we run the light. I'm like you. I run relatively lighter drags, and then I come to strike after I feel the fish is pulling
right
the line off.
Yeah.
And typically the fish is moving away at that point, so the hookup ratio tends to be fairly decent, rather than having a fish coming at you and feeling too much pressure before he gets tight
Right.
and then spitting.
Yes. Yep.
So, buddy, I can't believe we just burned through 2 hours
know.
of Saturday morning. It's
Went by
always a
fast.
pleasure having you in the show. How does somebody get a hold of Captain Sonny Richards and get out there and do some fishing?
So they can send a message or give us a call at 772-663-2922, or check us out on the website, which is super easy. It's aafishingcharter.com.
aafishingcharters.com. You guys and gals want to go catch some fish out of Sebastian? Sonny's the guy. Have him get you out there on the rip and catch some of this dolphin and tuna while we got some good weather coming up this next week or so.
I can't wait.
Hey, guys and gals, until next week, do exactly what we're going to do. Get out there and catch yourselves a memory.